Well, hello, everybody. This isn't exactly how I envisioned the next couple of weeks of our class going. I was really looking forward to hearing about spring break and everything that happened over the past week and moving forward with all the different things that we've got going on in our class. But circumstances outside of our control, obviously, we can't do that. So we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna learn this way for a little bit, and that's okay. We'll get through this and be better on the other side for it. I really believe that. So this week we're looking at recipe conversions, and recipe conversions can be very confusing, but they're very, very important in our restaurants. When we start converting recipes, we might be taking a recipe that is for one person, or maybe it makes two, the yield of it, maybe it makes one or two, and we need it to make 300 or 400. Or it might be vice versa. We might have a huge recipe that makes a lot, 300 or 400, and we need it to only make 5 or 6. And so what we're going to do with our PowerPoints today is we're going to look through how we actually convert those. Now, some of the conversions are very simple. If it makes 8 and you need it to make 4, you divide everything in half. That's very simple. But what happens if it makes 472 and you need it to make 3? That can be a little bit more complicated, and so that's what we're going to look at today. It's going to be very important that you know how to do this as a restaurant manager, as a running a hotel, resort, whatever it might be, where you are in control of food and beverage, because a lot of times your staff might not have that ability to look at a recipe and convert it down. And so you're going to need to be able to do that for them and then pass the recipe along to them so that they can make the correct amount that you want. We see this a lot in restaurants. We see this need to be able to do this a lot in restaurants. I know when I worked at Disney World, we were known for our potato soup recipe, right? Everybody would come to Le Cellier for the potato soup, and it was awesome. It made 600 servings. Well, I really liked that recipe, so when I came home, I brought the recipe with me. It didn't need to make 600 servings at my house. I had to be able to convert that down to just 2 people, because it was me and my wife. So we have to be able to convert recipes a lot, and it's going to be the same way. You might work somewhere and really like the recipes, and then you take them to your establishment, and it doesn't need to make 600. It only needs to make a few. So we're going to look today at exactly how we do that and exactly the exact procedures behind doing that so that you fully understand it. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our PowerPoints, and we're going to go through them. Now, I want you to know that I'm going to have virtual office hours that you can sign up for if you need to. And that way, if you don't fully understand this as we go through it, you'll be able to meet up with me online, where we can talk about these things and understand exactly the processes that we're going through, okay? So if you don't get it the first time out, just keep practicing it. Know that you can do it. You can do a virtual office hours with me, and we can talk about it and make sure that you truly understand what's going on, because I want you to get this material and really understand this material. You do have an assignment that will be due with this, and it's just like what we're going to do in the PowerPoints, okay? So don't let it freak you out. Don't get anxious about it or anything like that. It's going to be the same kind of thing that we're going over in the PowerPoints, just different numbers, okay? And then once you turn that assignment in, make sure you always go back and look, because a lot of times I will just put on there the corrections that you need to make, and then we'll tell you to go back and correct those, okay? So you want to always make sure that you double check, all right? So let's go look at our PowerPoints right now. Let's see exactly how we're going to do these recipe conversions for this week, okay? Right, so over the next couple of weeks, converting recipes and costing recipes, we're going to start with how we can actually convert a recipe down, just like we were talking about a moment ago, where we have a large number and then we need to get it, or a large yield, we need to get it to a smaller yield, or vice versa. So the first thing that we have to do is come up with a conversion factor. Now, a conversion factor is key because that is the number that we're going to multiply everything by, okay? And the conversion factor never changes. It's always going to be your desired yield. So what you are looking for, what you want your recipe to make, your desired yield, divided by your original yield. So what the recipe is currently written to make. Okay, now it doesn't matter if you're going up or down as far as what your yield's going to be. This is always going to be your conversion factor. This is always going to be the equation that you use. Your desired yield divided by your original yield is going to give you your conversion factor. And so for an example of that, you can see right here, our original yield is 5. We get this right off of the recipe. And we want this recipe to now make enough portions for 14 people. So our desired yield is 14. Our original recipe yield is 5. So 14 divided by 5 is going to be 2.8. So our conversion factor is now 2.8 for everything in our recipe. All right. So that part hopefully is very simple for you. Original yield is 5. The desired yield is 14. We divide the desired yield by the original yield, and it gives you a conversion factor. So then if we look at a recipe like what we have right here, we can see up here at the top, we have 6 servings. That's what our yield is 6 right now. That's how many this recipe will make. We want it to make 4. Okay, so it makes 6. We want it to make 4. We need to get it converted down. So what are we going to do? Well, the first thing we know we have to do is we have to come up with our conversion factor, right? So the desired yield divided by original yield. Our desired yield is 4. Our original yield is 6. So we have to come up with our conversion factor for that. So 4 divided by 6 is going to give us a conversion factor of 0.66, meaning that everything on this side here, all of these amounts, we're going to multiply by 0.66. All right, so let's look at that. So if we have 2 quarts of chicken stock, we're going to multiply 2 by 0.66, and it gives us 1.32 quarts. The next one is going to be 2 cups of heavy cream, 1.32 cups. We're at half a pound of bacon. So if your calculator that you're using doesn't do fractions, just know half is 0.5, right? So 0.5 times 0.66 gives us 0.33 pounds. 1 large onion. Now, sometimes you'll see recipes that are like this, where they don't give you exact amounts in cups and ounces and pounds, things like that. What it does is it gives you, you need a whole onion like this one does, or like the next part where it tells you how many cloves of garlic that you need. And that's okay. We can still do conversions on amounts like this and on products like this. So obviously, it is 1 times 0.66, which gives you 0.66 of an onion. That's just over half of an onion, right? Same thing with our cloves of garlic. It's at 4 times 0.66 will give you 2.64 cloves of garlic. So just over 2.5 cloves of garlic. Now, would it be a lot easier and a lot better if everything was in cups and in ounces and things like that? Absolutely, but you're not always going to find recipes that are like that, okay? Same thing with our potatoes here. You're looking at 4 large potatoes originally. We're going to convert those down, and you're going to be at 2.64, so just over 2.5 large potatoes, what you're going to need. Our tablespoons of all-purpose flour are going to be 1.32 tablespoons. This is 1 1/3 tablespoons is what this is. And if we know our conversion factors, we know that there are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So it's 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon there is what we're looking at. Okay. And if you don't know those conversion factors, if you look in the back of the course book that I made up for you guys, that's in, that you purchased, from the Print Center, it has conversion factors in the back of it for you. And that will be very helpful when you're going through this. You can also find some online as well. 2 pounds of cheddar cheese. So we're at 1.32 pounds. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Again, 1.32 tablespoons. A teaspoon of hot sauce. 0.66, so just over half of a teaspoon of hot sauce. Now, when you see, like we have right here, see where the salt and the pepper have TT next to them? That means to taste. That means you're going to put in what you think it needs, and it might vary a little bit. Okay, maybe the chicken stock is a little salty. Maybe sometimes you use a base for chicken stock, sometimes you don't. You use homemade chicken stock. Maybe you use different types of bacon and it adjusts the flavor in it. So what you're going to have to do anytime you see this is you're going to have to leave it as to taste. Okay, you're going to leave this as to taste in your recipe conversions. All right, because there's really nothing that you can convert right there. Okay, so this is it. This is how we do the conversions. All right, let's look at another one. This is same recipe. It makes 6, right? So our servings are 6, and our yield is 450. All right, so make 6. We want it to make 450. Let's go through it. I jumped ahead or jumped behind on you. Sorry. So let's go through and let's look at this and let's see exactly how many we can have this or how much we need for this to make 450 servings, right? So obviously we're going to have to do a conversion factor. Our desired yield, 450, divided by our original yield of 6, is going to be 75. So everything's going to be multiplied by 75, right? So if you went through and did this, normally in class I would give you a handout and it would have this on here and you would go through and convert it and then we would look at it. And you would probably notice that you took 2 quarts of chicken stock and you multiplied it by 75 and what you ended up with was 150. And then all of a sudden you look at what I have and I have 37.5 gallons. When you are going through and you're converting your recipes, it's going to be important to know that if you can convert them also into larger quantities or smaller quantities, you should do that. Okay, so instead of 150 quarts of chicken stock, we look and we say, well, how many quarts are in a gallon? Well, there's 4 quarts in a gallon. So how many gallons is 150 quarts of chicken stock? Well, it's 37 and a half. Okay. The reason that we do that is because a lot of times your staff won't have that ability and won't be able to do that. Okay. So if we can go ahead and do that for them, it's going to save them a lot of time. It's going to save them a lot of aggravation. And the reason that's going to happen is because they're not going to know to convert 150 quarts of chicken stock into gallons. What they're going to know is that they've got to measure out 150 quarts. And they're going to get about halfway through, and they're going to forget what they're doing. Or they're going to forget what number they're on, and then they're going to have to go back and start over again. Okay? And it's going to be very time-consuming for them. So if you can convert 150 quarts into gallons, knowing that there's 4 quarts in every gallon, then by all means, go ahead and do that. The same thing with the heavy cream. 150 cups of heavy cream. We know that there's 16 cups in a gallon. That helps us out a lot. So 9.375 gallons. So just over 9 1/3 gallons of heavy cream, right? And as we go down, you can see 37 and a half pounds of bacon. That was converted straight out. 75 onions, 300 cloves of garlic, 300 potatoes, 9.375 cups of all-purpose flour, 150 pounds of our cheddar cheese, 9.375 cups of Worcestershire sauce, 4.6875 cups of hot sauce, right? And then as always, down here at the bottom, our salt and pepper are to taste. That doesn't change. That's not going to change any, right? It's always going to be the same thing anytime we see that to taste amount. Okay, so this is how you go through, and this is how you convert recipes. Now, hopefully you understand this. Hopefully you see exactly what we did here, and this makes sense to you. If it doesn't, watch this again and see if it makes sense to you. If you're having problems, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll help you with it. We can do a virtual meeting through the Collaboration Ultra on Blackboard or through Zoom or something like that, Skype or something to help you out and make sure that you truly understand how to do this. Okay, so don't hesitate to reach out if you're having some confusion about this. If you're not sure about something, reach out to me. Let me know what you have questions about. Let me know how I can help you to get this right. This is going to be just like what your assignment is on Blackboard. Okay, so you're going to have to convert up and you're going to have to convert down. So it's two different recipes that you'll have to do. All right. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. I hope you're all doing well and are safe and healthy. And I look forward to seeing all of you real soon.